Welcome to Etchin Life. Today is the first time we talk about love, relationship, and sexuality. And we have an expert in this field, Linda Moana. It's good to have you appearing at Etchin Life.
Thank you, Ed. It's really my pleasure.
Usually in this channel, we talk more about health, wealth, hedge fund trading strategies. And, sexuality, it's something that people either they don't like to talk about it or are too busy to go into this topic, to drill deeper into it. I don't have the opportunity to find the right person. And if you do it in the Cantonese channel, usually they make fun out of it, like when they talk about sexuality and then, just cannot find the right expert. Yeah.
Well, I would say that when you actually embrace your sexuality, it will help you become healthier, wealthier, and maybe your hedge fund trading would be even better.
Really? Okay. Because most people, especially from the Chinese mentality, sometimes when couples, after they have kids, they stop having sex even, right? I've heard a lot of stories like this. And when people age, when they're in their 50s or 60s, when women, they're close to time for their menopause, and men, they think they only got 10, 20 years to live. So why bother? They are more busy talking about retirement, play with their kids, and sexuality is not something they talk about.
Yeah, that's sad because when you actually nurture your sexuality, you become so much more vibrant and alive. And so during your retirement years, wouldn't you want to have better health, better vitality, more radiance as you go through life, and really that way you can actually enjoy the rest of your life better too. And for those couples who have children, it's so common for sex to become one of the lower priorities. However, there are strategies. I mean, in order to keep your partner and you aligned and close to each other and have a good relationship, sex is actually a very important part of it to maintain that. Yeah.
Now, the only time when Hong Kong people are getting a little bit more excited to talk about sex is when there is a high-ranking police person, the deputy commissioner of police, visiting a massage parlor, and it's not a licensed massage parlor. That's when people talk about it and joke about it, which is sad. I mean, not sad in the sense that whether the deputy commissioner has illegal sex inside a police parlor, but people just don't want to face sexuality as an important subject of discussion. That's how I find it kind of sad.
Yeah, it's like school children, right?
Yeah.
You know about it and you're curious about it. Maybe you want to explore more of it. But, it's maybe it has so much taboo to it. Easy to be feeling guilty and shameful and fearful about it. And so you just end up making lots of jokes about it. It's like very hush-hush because it's so taboo.
I don't know a lot of sex therapists who practice sexuality training education in Cantonese, because I think this is more of a Western thing. Maybe there's one or two, and when they talk about it, they present it in a more hilarious way. I guess it's just a difficult subject to talk about sometimes.
Yeah, and people use humor to talk about difficult subjects.
Or they use, like they put it in a very medical way or scientific way, which is sometimes get into quite boring.
Well, that's the mainstream.
Yeah.
That's the mainstream. It's more technical, scientific, physiological.
People don't like to deal with their emotions, like peeling off like the onion, layer by layer. People have sexual needs and also emotional needs. And then people don't like to talk about the emotional part. So that's why when we see people talk about sex, it's I mentioned that gossipy news that a very high-ranking police visiting a massage parlor and then get caught by their peers, and then people got excited and talk about it for weeks, but it's not really dropping into the deeper, the emotional side of things. Why it's sexuality important? Even people, I guess in Hong Kong, when they talk about sexuality, usually it's talking about the movie stars or people in the entertainment industry who is having a relationship with whom. That's about it, right?
Yeah.
Very shallow.
It's good for gossip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most people still feel that sex is for reproduction, you know, for having children, and then afterwards, then the factory is closed.
Yeah. The factory is closed. That's why we have this topic. Now, I know you are like me, have pretty much the same background. You're in finance, you're in private banking. And after more than 20 years in private banking, and before that, you were a chemist, you were a scientist. And now going into kind of your third exploration into an arena that you are not familiar with before. Why go into this back a couple of years ago? You must have studied this under some guru or master.
Yes, well, I'm certified as a sex, love, and relationship coach under the Tantric Institute of Integrated Sexuality. So this is founded by my teacher, Layla Martin. And the reason why I got into this is, well, you know how do you resonate with ending up teaching what you need to learn the most?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something that I needed to learn because I also grew up in a very strict Chinese family where, you know, sex is not even talked about.
Yeah.
And but you know, the thing about it is, for me, I was just feeling throughout my whole childhood that I couldn't be me. You know, because there's so much conditioning about being a good girl, so much conditioning about what to do in life. You know, like you study hard and then you graduate, you look for a good job, you have a good husband, you have a family. So a lot of my inner truth was actually suppressed and repressed. So after having a very successful career as a banker and a wealth manager, and at the time it also was where my husband and I were separated, that's when I really, you know, like my journey of finding my true self really began. And, you know, it's sad that it takes such a crisis to look for yourself inward, but it did it for me. And so that's where I explored my sexuality, something that I felt quite shameful about before.
People don't really study too much about sexuality. People just do it. The kids, you know, as they say it, right? They hop into bars, meet up with someone, and then maybe one night stand, you know, like for some societies. Not too much in Hong Kong. We are lacking in space. Yeah. Not even in Lan Kwai Fong or Soho. You know, all the bars are closed now. Before we go taping this, I was talking about people go for AI. You know, like they don't really meet people. It's a sexless and loveless city. It's not like Sex in the City, right? It's not that
Sexless in the City.
Sexless in the City. It's not like that HBO episode, right? Carrie, right? That's the main lead.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Do people have healthy sex in a sexless city? I should say in a cruel city. Now Hong Kong has gone into a lot of trouble lately. COVID, national security law. People just don't have the mood to talk about sex, it seems like.
Well, I don't know if Hong Kong ever really was in the mood to have sex.
Or maybe just the stock market
Oh.
or something, or horse betting. I don't know.
But I mean, it's not that different from the rest of the world. Of course, Hong Kong is, surveys have shown that Hong Kong has one of the lowest rates of having sex.
And birth rate as well.
Yes. Not saying that the rest of the world, is very sex positive. Actually, it's not. It's the difference from having sex and having that experience of connection.
Yeah.
And even a spiritual connection through sex.
Right. You are having like a 2 steps forward, because I find in this city, when I talk to younger people, let's say if they relocate back to Asia, let's say they are Asian Americans from Canada, from US, they come to Hong Kong, they have like 10, 12 hours of work if they're in banking. So it's difficult to have meaningful relationship. So that you need a relationship first, and if they don't have a relationship, they go into cyberspace, AI sex, for instance, like and then buy a sex toy even, right?
Yeah.
Without having a real relationship. Now you are talking about finding a partner, a husband, a wife, and then have that relationship to blossom into something deeper, which is 2 steps forward. It takes 2 to tango.
Right. So the AI, the sexual toys, it takes care of your physiological needs.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not going to take care of your emotional needs, your connection needs, your healing. Sex can be an avenue for healing.
Yes.
And
yes.
growth.
Yeah. So I discourage people, honestly, I think it's a very bad idea to have like AI sex replacing human relationship, right? It cannot be something 3D, these days they talk about VR and then AI and all that.
Yeah.
Wow, it sounds like in a futuristic movie. You don't need human touch anymore, right? Scary.
It is scary. I feel that with our technology advancing, with AI and how it's expanding in what it can do, and even into feelings. The more we have that technological part in our lives, the more we really need to go inward to find our own humanness and what it is about our human, being a human. And it's really our emotions, our body sensations, and connection with others.